Wow, very good. It's good, honey. What are good? I'm sorry. Wow. Very good. I scare everyone now. Where, honey? Oh, where did the rope go? Oh, this is a village temple. Village temple. Very good. So now very good village temple. She's the man, the red. We go here very so far, but very good. We see the village temple. Village temple. Mm. Oh, they're here in this temple. So many temple here. Sister, isn't here very temple here? So many. The big land temple, village temple. Welcome, Mary. Come here. We stay in the village temple. Sister, where? Oh my God, so far. Sister, have the land, the big land here. Oh, wow. Here. Shoo.
Yeah, very peaceful.
So very beauty, right?
So this area we stopped by to visit here because it's like a Buddhist village. So there's tons of different temples here. And we were coming around to the area, we actually saw repeatedly, we saw all these monks and nuns on their motorbikes. Want to try the tea?
Thank you, honey. Good, eh? Wow, very smell. Mm, good. We can buy a little bit.
Yeah, I did see Shiva's little one chip challenge. I thought that was pretty good.
Because
Glad that he did
this
that.
is honey reading so very easy. They sleep very well. Very good sleep.
I thought that's a pretty good idea. It's inspiring to see him eat a super spicy chip and can y'all hear the music in the background? The subtle sounds? Adida Phật.
A Di Đà Phật. Oh.
Adida. Not in the Vietnam, just the English.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, Wi-Fi very strong. I was thinking about that. Aren't there like, can it be such a headache to just get like 100 megabytes download, 100 megabytes upload in America in tons of places? We're out in the middle of nowhere in Vietnam, and their Wi-Fi is, it's just like a shack building for a little tea house, a vegetarian restaurant. Their Wi-Fi is like 500 megabytes upload and download. Hey, be nice, everybody. Thank you for subscribing, though. You have to be okay with not understanding. Have to learn to be okay with not understanding. Because understanding can be a kind of trap, a box that we're locked in, that doesn't allow us to heal or to let go or to change, or to flow with all the change that's happening all the time, inside and outside. So the nature of those things, those ideas, those views, those stories that you hold on to, is actually just change. But if we're always stuck on this idea that we have a right to understand, or that we do understand, we can't receive any new information. We can't open ourselves to any new perspective. And think of how problematic that would be when you're dealing with your own mind, right? When you understand that you are someone that has depression, you are someone that has anxiety, you are someone that's a bad person, crazy person, then you're trapped in that. You don't need to understand me. You don't need to understand yourself. You don't need to understand anything to just be here. And that's where true understanding begins to open up. Understanding that's based on freedom, not on words and phrases. Hey, remember, don't just come in and use this as a place to be, foolish and disrespectful. You know better than that. If you've been around here for a little bit, you know better than that.
Oh, if we buy there, the monk and the nun come and stay very easy, right?
Yeah.
Very good.
So we will call those numbers, we will check, we will see.
It's a good idea. If we have the land and the center here,
Yes.
the monk and the nun come, stay very easy. Because all here, the villa, the village in the temple.
The temple
And
village.
the monastery. So very good. I like that, I like that, I like that. That's very good. my
there.
friend talk. This is very good arrow.
Good air?
Good air. The Sally, my friend. This house, the village is very good. The same here.
2 more hours.
Yeah. And the monk before we sit here, she thought it's very beautiful. Thư viện. Thư viện Bát Nhã.
Yeah, there's a place that we're going to be visiting that's quite famous. Thich Nhat Hanh, he set up a temple, a monastery there, or his monks started to live at this monastery and set up their Sangha organization there. And at a certain point, they got basically like attacked by the government and the police, and they got forced to leave. Because in Vietnam, you can't start up a new Buddhist organization without approval from the government. And Thich Nhat Hanh's mentality was that he didn't want to really cooperate with them. He didn't want to bow down to them in any way. So there's even stories of like plainclothes policemen throwing bags of feces into the temple to get the monks to leave. And then eventually they raided the temple and they forced all the monks out. Remember, guys, this is never going to be a place for you to drop your pants and take a big shit with your ego. If you come here, be respectful, be kind, act as if you're a guest in someone else's space. This is not a dumping ground for people's egos. I'm not saying you can't be here. I'm not saying you're not welcome. Just carry yourself properly when you come here, just like you would as a guest at a temple or at someone else's home. If you don't want to be here, it goes without saying you don't have to be here. There's many more important things going all around the world. If you're looking to fight or complain about something negative, maybe go to the Congo or go and volunteer at a soup kitchen or something like that.
Very good.
Yeah, beautiful music and beautiful views.
And very quiet. Very good.
Very quiet here, yeah. So we want to have a place like that, a property like that for the meditation center. We might buy it for land and then build on it, which is comparatively quite cheap compared to other countries. but all the cars going by, you know, the constant unnatural noise. It's nice to have just this sense of silence and the natural sounds, the birds, the wind, the rumbling of thunder. There's a kind of clarity that goes along with that is refreshing and rejuvenating. Remember that your spiritual practice or your Buddhist practice, what we're doing here, it's never about being a perfect person or trying to live up to some kind of social media standards of filling in this role of a caricature of yourself. It's about being completely human. It's about being willing to exert yourself and expose yourself. There's actually a great Zen master, Dogen, who said, "Reveal your faults and hide your virtues." It's quite open, Zane. It's one of the most open countries, actually, for North Americans. So it's very easy. Some people just come and live here on tourist visas indefinitely. Getting the 3-month visa is really easy, and then you can come and go out of the country freely. And you can also, if you have a degree, it's quite easy to get a longer term visa if you're teaching English or any kind of business or job. So that's also one of the things we'd like to do at the meditation center, is set it up as a homestay, something like a homestay, so that we might be able to provide work visas for the people who want to come and stay long term. So Shelley, there's 2 different areas that are big for Thich Nhat Hanh. The area that we're going into is where Thich Nhat Hanh started his first forest monastery with another very famous monk in Vietnam who started the Truc Lam tradition, or revitalized the Truc Lam tradition. And then also this temple that is no longer a Thich Nhat Hanh temple, but in 2009 it was the epicenter of Thich Nhat Hanh's attempt to start his tradition in Vietnam. And so eventually they removed all of the monks. They kind of attacked them, and it was a very big situation, very controversial at that time. And the temple where Thich Nhat Hanh ordained and spent his final years is in Hue. I have been there, and maybe that's a place we can go and visit. I'd also like to visit Hue and see about properties there as well. So maybe when you come, we can take a look. Okay, so Trey asking, I think, a good question, but with a little bit of animosity in it, which, you know, our animosity is always something to relieve ourselves of when we can, you know. So the benefits that people get from coming to stay at a meditation center is to decouple from worldly life and to be in an environment that's primarily focused on Buddhism, meditation, mindfulness, and freedom from the story of ourselves that we've created up into this point, and being in an environment that is conducive for that and actually invites and welcomes that. The meditation center that we're setting up will never have any financial incentive. You know, everything's going to be provided freely, and you know, people coming to help, to volunteer, to share, kind of goes without saying. That's a part of the project. It's not a monetary endeavor. So it won't, it's not, it's not in any ways a monetary endeavor. I can appreciate the idea of a monetary endeavor. being financially successful, but starting this meditation center doesn't have any connection to that. I've never even thought about making money from that project. It could definitely be organized, Trey, if you went through the interview process and it seemed like for both parties that it made sense, then we could definitely organize some travel support. That's not a big issue. And this meditation center will also be a part of the broader Tabarboa organization, which has centers in America, in Thailand, in Myanmar, in Japan. So, connecting with the work that we're doing here, it allows people to connect with that as well, which is a much richer and broader infrastructure if you want to become a monk or nun or volunteer. I think property is quite cheap compared to America. So we just stopped by this guy's house at the end of the road who he bought property and built a house a year ago. How much did he say, honey?
Huh?
That man? He built his house 500,
4
400 million.
450.
So for 450, for like 20,000 US dollars, he built a pretty nice little house next to the river. So I'm not sure how much the land cost, but that's how much it was to build the house.
I think the land very cheap. We see the before. Yeah, I love made in Kenya.
So it could be something like $20,000 for land, $50,000 for
Cái số của em là
a
1
proper building.
Cái số này Zalo của em. Cái miếng đất của những miếng đất nào không? Tại vì hôm qua chị đi hỏi, chị cũng có định nhiều rồi, chị cũng đi coi nhiều nơi á. Không, chị từ Sài Gòn lên nên là bây giờ chị đã rồi, chị Đà Lạt rồi là ở Đà Lạt rồi. Chị coi được vài nơi nhưng mà nó có một số chỗ là nó để cái địa chỉ mà nó không có đúng. Chị có tìm cho chủ cũng đang ở Sài Gòn nên không coi được. Chị kiếm con tên này là nếu mà đất không thì dưới 1 tỷ thì có thể tầm 800 đến 1 tỷ.
But this is an important, I'm glad you asked that question, Trev, because this is an important aspect of Buddhism and having a meditation center, is that it's actually we're not trying to advertise anything. We're not trying to sell the idea of being a volunteer or being a meditator or being a donor. It's something that you feel inspired by, you feel connected with, you want to be involved with, you want to support, or you don't. Buddhism has been around for 2,600 years, and it's not really a proselytizing religion. So when we have people approach that are kind of trying to be convinced, it's almost like you go to a shop, like a tea shop or a vegetarian restaurant, and now you're talking with the employees to kind of try to get them to convince you to buy what they're selling. And even in that case, it's kind of absurd. Like you go into a 7-Eleven and you try to get them to convince you to buy the gasoline. But how much more absurd is it when we're talking about trying to convince someone to practice generosity? Because generosity is not transactional. So if you're looking for a transactional justification to practice generosity, you kind of already missed the point. I'm Buddhist. And so in that case, it's probably more important for you to stop fixating on like your money or, what you're going to get by practicing generosity, and just make use of what's already here and sit with that and be with that, settle into that.
Thì ở lúc
Give it some time.
thì mới Đà Lạt là chị kiếm là do là cái khí hậu trên Đà Lạt. Đầu tiên tôi là đặt khí hậu bên nào kia thì khí hậu trên Đà Lạt ok nhất, nhưng cũng mãi không được thì bây giờ thấp đổ về đây cái rồi đổ về sau nữa. Bekanze, ma bekanze, anza samungate soha. Taon bekanze, ma ayanze, mahamaya bekanze. Taon bekanze, ma bekanze, anza samungate soha. Ok, số này xin dùng Zalo đúng không? Ok. Rồi chưa có phải đúng rồi. Số này không có Zalo. Vậy đúng không? Rồi để chị kết bạn với em. Ok.
How about the storm, honey? The storm.
Số.
Yeah. Look.
Oh my god.
Big storm, right?
Oh. I didn't know now. right here, right? Mm,
I don't know. Maybe I'll check the Doppler radar.
yeah. Nó là đây rồi đó. If we go to power, and then you know, 2 hours, right?
Hmm.
Ở đâu thép được vậy? The symbol ready now.
Yeah, I see that.
Can go visit. Ready now.
Ooh.
Wee! Near we, huh? Near, right?
We here, we.
We're here. Here, and here. Wee! Just we go there. So, a little. Any
Remember, when you come here, leave your ego at the door.
so very beauty, right?
Hmm.
In Taiwan, the land here. Person can come and try tea and
Ah.
oh, this is and swim in there, right? She's a new very big there, right? Honey, see the Google map? Very big land near here.
Oh, we're not on the ocean.
The same ocean.
Vietnam is a very big land.
Hmm.
So
Where the same ocean, right? No, Madeline very big land. This is Vietnam, so small. Was very beauty. Everything have. But just have not have the snow. The snow.
no snow in Vietnam.
Sapa have.
Sapa have snow
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes.
Sometimes have Sapa have. Here. Honey. Very big. Right. So we put that in the bowl. Oh my god. Very good. sleep. You shop, coffee shop from sleep. It's near the pit.
So everybody, we have a goal for 10 super chats, and if we reach our goal, we'll have a dance party. Trust in awareness, the silence behind the noise. Stop all the belief in the noise.
We need to buy the tea there. Not very easy. Sleep very good sleep. We don't need to buy, right? We're very easy to sleep. Sleep and sleep and sleep.
Okay, thank you, Niels, for your super chat. There's definitely a storm, big storm coming. There's a constant rumbling of thunder. I don't know if you can hear it or not. And this is one of the joys and the important aspects of a sangha or a spiritual community, especially a spiritual teacher that is realistic about the nature of the truth, the emptiness of self. Whatever you've experienced and whatever you've thought about is not what the community takes refuge in. We take refuge in the Dharma. And we practice to refresh and restart, regardless of our trauma, regardless of our story. We forgive and forget, begin again. We protect the Dharma, not our story about what we've experienced or what we know about. or what we believe in. And that may seem to always benefit the abuser, because sometimes we want to be a victim. We want to use our pain, our suffering, our confusion to reify the sense of self and to reify the seeming mundane truth. But when we take refuge in the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas, actually we take refuge in emptiness, we take refuge in compassion, we take refuge in wisdom, rather than our own personal identity and the things that we've experienced. All of that is irrelevant. We have to learn how to fight with each other with mindfulness and detachment. Because you think about it, we create these situations, we create these environments where conflict is not allowed. Well, generosity can be a kind of conflict. When we truly share how we feel, what we think, what we understand. Yeah, storm come. And then this supposed evolutionary, exponential, dynamic, powerful spiritual environment becomes a place of laziness and fearfulness and trying to live up to some ideal that we've made up in our minds. And in that we lose everything that is open to change. You know, we have to be as open to being wrong as we are open to being right. Is it okay to use force to defend yourself and others? It's not really what Buddhism is about, if something's okay or not. We learn how to begin again and learn from our experiences. So it's like, is it okay to fart in the elevator? Well, you won't know unless you try. You know, is it okay to be sick? Is it okay to die? Is it okay to hurt someone that you love? Is it okay to be hurt by someone that you love? That's life. So if we're asking if life is okay, then we're going to constantly be confused. Everything is okay. We have to make up our minds to be in a way where everything is okay, no matter what it is, because death is coming. So until we can allow everything in life to be okay, death won't be okay. And actually, the kind of wisdom and compassion that we're talking about here and the limitlessness of that, it's really dark. You know, it's scary what's being asked of us. That kind of wisdom, that kind of compassion. We've created certain paradigms of certain forms of violence that are okay, not a big deal. So talking about killing someone is not really a big deal. There's all kinds of, I talked before about this HBO series, It, where it's this evil spirit clown, you know, from Native American time, from an asteroid or something. And the whole concept of this show is children being tortured, killed, captured, abused, and torn apart. You know, because the more fear that this child feels, the more pleasure that this clown gets out of that situation, the more energy that the clown gets out of it. So our morality is not as stable as we might, not as deep or logical as we might imagine it to be. You know, so I'm sure if HBO were to create a TV series of a interdimensional clown sexually abusing children, people probably wouldn't like that too much. But somehow, because the interdimensional clown just wants to physically torture them and murder them and dismember them and imprison them, it's okay. It's not a big deal. You know, nobody's protesting about the last series of It on HBO. And so the kind of compassion that we're talking about in Buddhism is all-encompassing. You know, it's having compassion for the most evil people, spirits, entities, beings in the world. You know, being able to conquer them with wisdom and compassion. It's weird. It's something I have trouble with, because I aspire to that kind of wisdom and compassion, you know, to be able to work with anyone, to be able to work with everyone. But I think about someone being evil or negative or conniving, and, you know, how could I have compassion for somebody like that? I know my teacher can. And that can almost make my teacher seem to be like a monster himself. So from a secular or Christian Western perspective, this all-embracing compassion without punishment or damnation is evil. But this is precisely the kind of practice that we're aspiring to here. That's what the Buddha taught us. And that's a weird thing. But this also comes back to intention. So if somebody is you know, they're not particularly powerful or not particularly bad, but they're just showing up to, you know, fuck around and make problems or insult, well, you know, show them the sword. But you can imagine if you had the most evil, vile, repulsive, satanic warlord or emperor who was coming to the Buddha to learn. The Buddha would meet him where he was, with wisdom and compassion. You know, so it's not about just people showing up and being, having weird, bad intentions and wanting to use this as a place to fuck around. But truly meeting people where they are. And that's very deeply connected to our spirit of generosity. What makes human beings human is this spirit of generosity that goes beyond ourself, our family, and everything that we're, kind of directly connected with. From our biology. Want to try and go? It's going to be a hit or miss.
Scary honey go to run the evening, just not alive, suddenly.
Okay.
No? Okay, we wait here a little bit. Starting very quick.
Well, I think we probably have a limited understanding of health according to our level, our attachment to our bodies. So that while there may be truth in that, there's probably more truth in the lacking of our real understanding of health in a situation like that. So it can be true and not true. Master Yonghua said something about his teacher, the master who founded the city of 10,000 Buddhas, and he was saying how he made all this sacrifice and he worked the way that he did almost to create a universe. So I see Sayadaw as also doing something like that, creating a universe through his self-sacrifice, a mental universe. And it's so remarkable when you think about it. When I think about it, the vision itself, but the access to resources, the openness, the flexibility, the freedom, the possibilities of that network. And it's remarkable how few people actually are tuning into that, making use of that, have an understanding of that or an appreciation of that. Doesn't make it any less remarkable and totally unique. Absolutely totally unique. To where you talk about it and people can't even believe it. Or it's so outside of anything else that exists that you don't even have a choice to believe it or not. It's a vegan. This is a vegan restaurant. You know, we will have some sessions that are more free, you know, less restriction. We've had many sessions like that, you know, where there's no restriction. But then some sessions, some practice sessions have a lot of restrictions, you know. So we can use both. We don't have to attach to no restrictions or a lot of restrictions. And as much as we see things that they can be ego things, they're not necessarily. You know, like when a mother slaps her child's hand because the child is, you know, about to touch a hot stove, that's, you know, could be an ego thing, but it's not inherently. So keeping the open mind. Yeah, ask them more tea. We run out. Yeah. Ooh, storm's really coming in here.
Rồi nước quay anh này. Rồi nhìn vô với đi đến trường.
Oh wow. Big storm coming. Well, eating snakes isn't any more or less weird than eating cows. You know, it's just a cultural thing. It's like with merit and money. Like believing more in merit than money is not inherently more or less weird. It's just cultural or more or less correct. Right? Money itself is just a communal idea, communally agreed upon idea.
Ui, sao nó đi được?
Happy Vesak. Happy Vietnamese Vesak. You know, there's a real passion in me about, you know, presenting this idea that there are other ways to view the same thing. There are other ways of life. There are other ways of viewing reality. And I'm not trying to push a certain way of viewing reality. I'm just saying, you know, I do have my way that's connected with Buddhism. But just that appreciation that there are many different ways to view the same thing. There's a real insight in that. So we're not so arrogantly, egoically trapped in our perception, in our view. And then we can look at our intention. Why am I here to begin with? and that the American education system may have taught us that the primary way of learning is just memorizing something. But maybe this is something that can't be, memorizing it doesn't really mean anything. You know, so what is mindfulness and detachment? What does it mean? You can ask Google Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude. What does it mean to hold a teacup with mindfulness and detachment?
Very good.
You know, and really being respectful. You know, this is my home. You're a guest here. I came up with this saying. I said, when I'm in your house, I have to respect what you say. When you're in my house, you have to forgive and forget. We're, you know, I think very psychologically disassociated in human relationships, primarily having most of our exposure to other human beings, and then our, you know, how we act towards them being through social media. I really invite people when they come here to consider that they're coming to my home. You know, they're a guest in my home. It's not a game. It's not like we're meeting together at a public place.
So tonight we stay the night before, huh?
I don't know.
I thought mom. But this
2 hour to drive, and the storm is coming in.
so bad.
The motorbike doesn't have a roof. We're in the storm.
Ui, so very big.
2,
Oh my god.
3:35.
Oi. Very big. We need to wait 1 hour. Cannot, the river is raining.
Well, that's one of the issues, is our attachment to stimulation that doesn't actually benefit ourselves or anyone else. You know, all this mental stimulation about archetypes and entities and psychology, that doesn't really have any practical basis. You know, we need to come back to the land. What is the psychology of the flowing water? What is the psychology of the storm? And I know it can sound superfluous, it can sound frivolous and silly, but I'm really saying that, you know. And what that does is it It refutes the absolute authority of psychology as we know it, and brings us back to more of a connection to the land. You can ask yourself, what is your connection with the ancestors? Not stuff that you've read or stuff that you've watched, but people that you've connected to that are a part of a tradition, a lineage, that are awash with deep, lived, meaningful experiences. And that's just a starting point. It operates on merit. It operates on blessings. That's also why there's no incentive here to convince anybody about what I'm doing or who I am or about Buddhism, because you being convinced about it is just eventually going to be a problem. It's a matter of your blessings if you can understand the teachings of the Buddha. It's up to your blessings if you can connect with the, real spiritual tradition and lineage that's not based on materialism or the objectification of things. And that is, for better or worse, I don't like to represent myself that way, but I love that teaching of contrast and how could this be the same person? I think that's beautiful. I think that's really profound. Because we're seeing one another as these objects of ego, like these solidified self entities, like we would see a car, like our bike over there, the Monk Life Meditation Motorbike Mobile. But that's not what a human being is. That's not what our true self is this solid object that's just is as it is. I'll show everyone the storm. Wee. And that's a nice thing about this area as well, this Lamdong province with all the mountains, is the changing weather. Okay, everybody, so we do have a goal for 10 super chats. And if we reach our goal, we're going to have a dance party. Whee! Storm is a-coming. We're in the storm. We're in the storm. My two favorite bodhisattvas would probably have to be, I really only have one favorite bodhisattva, and that's Guan Yin. Oh my goodness. Song of the Jewel Mirror Awareness by Baojing Sanmei-ki. The teaching of thusness has been intimately communicated by Buddhas and patriarchs. Now you have it, so keep it well. Filling a silver bowl with snow, hiding a heron in the moonlight. When you array them, they are not the same. When you mix them, you know where they are. The meaning is not in the words, yet it responds to the inquiring impulse. If you're excited, it becomes a pitfall. If you miss it, you fall into retrospective hesitation. Turning away and touching are both wrong, for it is like a mass of fire. Just to depict it in literary form is to relegate it to defilement. It is bright just at midnight. It doesn't appear at dawn. It acts as a guide for beings. Its use removes all pains. Although it is not fabricated, it is not without speech. It is like facing a jewel mirror. Form and image behold each other. You are not it. It actually is you. It is like a babe in the world, in 5 aspects complete. It does not go or come, nor rise nor stand. Baba Wawa. Is there anything said or not? Ultimately, it does not apprehend anything, because its speech is not yet correct. It is like the 6 lines of the double-split hexagram. The relative and absolute integrate. Piled up, they make 3. The complete transformation makes 5. It is like the taste of the 5-flavored herb, like the diamond thunderbolt, subtly included within the true. Inquiry and response come up together. Communing with the source and communing with the process, it includes integration and includes the road. Merging is auspicious. do not violate it. Naturally real, yet inconceivable, it is not within the province of delusion or enlightenment. With casual conditions, time and season, quiescently it shines bright. In its fineness, it fits into spacelessness. In its greatness, it is utterly beyond location. A hair's breadth deviation will fail to accord with the proper attunement. Now there are sudden and gradual, in connection with which are set up basic approaches. Once basic approaches are distinguished, then there are guiding rules. But even though the basis is reached and the approach comprehended, true eternity still flows. Outwardly still while inwardly moving, like a tethered colt, a trapped rat. The ancient saints pitied them and bestowed upon them the teaching, according to their delusions, they called black as white. When erroneous imaginations cease, the acquiescent mind realizes itself. If you want to conform to the ancient way, please observe the ancients of former times. When about to fulfill the way of Buddhahood, one gazed at a tree for 10 eons, like a tiger leaving part of its prey, a horse with a white left hind leg. Because there is the base, there are jewel pedestals, fine clothing. Because there is the startlingly different, there are house cat and cow. Yi, with his archer's skill, could hit a target at 100 paces. But when arrow points meet head-on, what has this to do with the power of skill? When the wooden man begins to sing, the stone woman gets up to dance. It is not within reach of feeling or discrimination. How could it admit of consideration in thought? A minister serves the Lord. A son obeys the father. Not obeying is not filial, and not serving is no help. Practice secretly, working within, as though a fool, like an idiot. If you can achieve continuity, this is called the host within the host. It's happening, everybody, it's happening. Okay, thank you for the donation super chat here, everybody. And we do have a gold, 10 super chat gold that will trigger a dance party. Everybody's weird, you know? There's that classic children's book, Everybody Poops. So we can either see through the fact that we're all pooping, or we can let go. Don't let something being weird create some kind of justification for just whateverism. cold, right? It's starting to get cold. The storm. What should we do?
Let's go. Oh no, just the black color.
The black color come now?
Black
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, black color come.
In Lamdong province.
I just see.
Black color. Yes, I see the black color.
Oh, very cool. Alright,
Yeah, it's cold.
because the big wing. Oh, yeah, black color.
Hello. Oh, honey. They garden. They make the garden. They make the garden. You can see out there. They garden. Yeah. Hmm? They go home? Where are we gonna go? Yes. They go home. honey?
Is good, right?
Yeah. But we do have the rain jacket. We can drive in the rain. And the back, you know, honey, backpack has the rain, the water goes on top. But we're not ready to receive residents yet here in Vietnam. But hopefully in the next year or so we will be, for people to come and be a resident and volunteer at the meditation center. You know, and it's not always the money situation. Sometimes it's the attachment situation. You're afraid. It's like being afraid to try new food because you think it won't agree with your stomach. You're never going to find out if you don't try. And that fear of being vulnerable, it cuts off our learning and growth capacity. We're planning to start a fundraiser pretty soon for $1,000 to get Dr. Rob to stop smoking. Actually, that fundraiser's already been started, but we're gonna revitalize it.
Please. Dr. Rob, stop.
It's true, it's real. So that's kind of an absurd thing, right? But, you know, Donald Trump being the president of the United States, that can also seem to be absurd. So just because it's absurd doesn't mean it's not practical or factual. Right now, it's practical for Donald Trump to be the president of the United States. You can be some non-binary social justice warrior crying and whinging. You know, this can't be happening, but that is what's happening. You know. Very good, Minato. Nice. Happened to me many times. Just be careful about the floor collapsing underneath you, Niels. That's one you don't want to happen. I'm a little bit more frosty about where I'm walking these days. I don't know if anyone was around during the floor collapse arc, but I'm telling you, if I would not have caught myself and grabbed myself, I would have fallen and like broken my ankles and legs and possibly died. You know, I literally had to catch myself here and then climb, you know, on this floor that had just collapsed underneath me all at once, like an Acme, you know, like a cartoon. It happened exactly like a cartoon. Like I was standing still and a circle of the floor collapsed and I fell through it. Remember, this is my house, prophets, be kind. Okay? If I'm at your house, I have to I have to listen to what you say. If you're at my house, you have to forgive and forget. Okay? I have a feeling precisely when we get on the motorbike to drive is when the rain's going to come. My ponytail's coming in pretty good, everybody. It's just a matter of time.
Honey, this is the same as you now. You were ready. One year?
It's true, Shelley. It's true.
1 year?
Shiva's a good guy.
Very cool.
I've got to buy a new set of Korean markers for face painting and funny stuff like that. Because the Chinese paint is not good. BGO3111. I've come across many monks or spiritual practitioners with one of those moles that have like long hairs growing out of it, and I've always wanted to be Zen enough, like Linji enough, to grab those hairs and rip them all out, but I've never done it. You'd want to do that to a monk more than a regular person. A regular person might hit you, but a monk shouldn't hit you. I've thought about that so many times. Said I want to be Zen enough to, and of course that's not a real. If you're thinking about it, that's not very Zen, right? But if you're in continuity and you see that and you rip it out, then that would be good. If you're in meditative, non-dual continuity. So it has started to rain. Now it's starting to trickle.
Rain come.
No, I've told people, you know, I've been one of the most important people in Shiva's life. You know, one of the most important spiritual influences and certainly financial influences in his life. So Shiva's totally changed from when I first met him. Totally changed. Totally different guy. Yeah, we'll bring it back. We'll bring it back. But there's some community around Shiva that just fling like $2 and $3 to there's a certain culture that can form around me and Shiva live streaming together if I'm not being full on, and that's not necessarily a culture I want to support or be a part of. It's okay right now. How about move the bike under the umbrella? I've always gotten a sense that there's a matriarchal aspect to Vietnamese society, Vietnamese culture. Of course, it's not a matriarchy. For sure, it's definitely not. But I think there's a lot more empowered feminine energy. Okay. It seems like in the West, women sometimes try to empower themselves by being more masculine. And you don't see much of that they have their own kind of masculine femininity in Vietnam, but generally people are very soft. And apparently there is a native culture in Vietnam that is like matriarchal, like some of the natural native people. You want to ask them? It's okay.
Chị ngồi trong đây được không em?
Very sweet. Hunter, say hello. May you be happy.
Quả này tí phải xin rồi, quay xinh lắm. Hôm nay mới được vào show livestream. Chị có muốn uống trà không thì gọi em.
Đây là mương nước này phần dừng.
Mình nhà ở đâu vậy chị?
Ở dưới Sài Gòn.
Chị đến đây luôn. Thế mình đã có chỗ trú hay là gì chưa ạ?
Có, bọn chị tính sẽ bỏ lọt mọi việc trời mưa ở đây.
Từ đây này có cái nhà nghỉ đấy. Ngoài mình đi làm hơi độ thì kia là có ở tí mưa hơi to ấy chị.
Đó, có đi đang chờ cho nó hết mưa chị.
Rồi buổi tối là không có cái mưa.
Chắc là chạy ra ngoài kia ấy thôi.
Chị ngồi nhé.
Dạ chị cảm ơn nha.
So, segregation can be very important at meditation centers because of the deep, deep differences between the Asian culture and the Western culture. Um, because it's easy to say, well, why don't we just work together? But when we do start to work together, all of these ego dynamics come up, and now you have a softer person that's being dominated by a coarser, rougher person, and um, all of that just kind of flows in a way that's very difficult for people to deal with. Now, sometime, I mean, it's a great ideal to try to live up to, bridging the divide. So when I lived at the Thich Nhat Hanh Monastery, and I lived there many months as a monk in California, one of the things that I thought was a bit disappointing was actually the lack of integration between the female Asian monastics and the Western American monastics. And this is actually a big cultural part of the Thich Nhat Hanh tradition in general, because there's a lot more women, young women, and just women in general becoming nuns rather than young men becoming monks. So at the Thich Nhat Hanh monasteries, like the one I was at, you'll have a lot of Vietnamese women nuns, and you'll have a lot of Western monks, and the cultural integration is pretty distant. It's pretty hands-off. Okay, it's raining now. It's definitely raining now. Ooh, I'll help you. Big raining. Just to give one word or two about racism, because I don't want to get political. But when we talk about racism, we're not just talking about how people interact with another today. So we're not talking about how this person in America has an idea about Black people or about people from a different race. We're not actually talking about that. We're talking about systematic aspects of the society in the past, especially, that have maybe not been addressed or have not been worked on deeply enough to make a difference or to pay back the debt that was there, the debt that was created. Thank you for the gift, Jeffrey. So when we talk about no unethical blood strike, that's not what's being said. So when we talk about racism in America, we're talking about, like, for an example, how 60 years ago or 50 years ago, that there were opportunities that weren't allowed for Black people that were allowed for white people. How that creates economic difference and how that difference expresses itself in the modern world. Wow. Okay, so listen to this. The relative and absolute, or partial and true, are also called minister and ruler, son and father, light and darkness. Kao Shan called the relative the world of myriad forms, and the absolute the realm of emptiness. The relative is also called the phenomenal, and the absolute the principle. The relative within the absolute is realization of the emptiness of mind, whereby all things are emptied. Thus, it is the relative absolute containing the absolute relative. The absolute within the relative is the mirror awareness, which is revealed by cleaning and polishing the mind by cessation and emptiness. At this point, the focus of concentration can make anything fill the universe, or make the universe into one point of awareness. Relative and absolute depend on each other, so two elements make three, adding their mutual intermingling, the source of the two. The absolute is always being expressed in the relative. This is the true absolute, but it is not always seen. Perfect comprehension of the relative grounded on experience of the absolute culminates in simultaneous realization of knowledge and complete peace and calm. At this point, Dongshan said, one comes back to sit among the ashes, living this life as a wayfarer, expressing one's solidarity with the world in the vow to realize perfect enlightenment with all beings. The five flavored herb and diamond thunderbolt are images of 5 in 1. These so-called ranks or positions, the set of 5 being the ultimate paradigm of dialectic and an illustration of meditational stages, are all from the same source. Hence the association of 5 in 1. Dogen emphasized that practice and realization are not two separate things. The source and the process can be called absolute and relative as a device. Integration and merging refer to these. This includes the road or process itself merging into the process, having no sense of seeking or acquisition, thus merging into the source. This was the point of the transcendence of wisdom scriptures. So there you have it. The Zen master Dongshan asked the disciple Yunju, "Where have you been?" Yunju said, "Walking in the mountains." Dongshan said, "Which mountain is suitable to live on?" Yunju said, "Which mountain is not suitable to live on?" Dongshan said, "Then you've checked out all the mountains in the country?" Yunju said, "No." Dongshan said, "Then you found an entry road." Yunju said, "There is no road." Dongshan said, "If there is no road, how can you meet me?" Yunju said, "If there were a road, then I would be a life apart from you." Dongshan said, "Hereafter, no one in the world will be able to pin you down." The rain, it falls on everyone. The rain, it falls on everyone. No discrimination. No discrimination. Let's take a look at what's going on out there, okay? Wait. All right, everybody, let's get some big W's in the chat. We still have our super chat goal. So send those super chats, everybody. And if we reach our super chat goal, we're going to have a dance party. A dance party in the rain, okay? And I know everybody wants that. The rain, it falls on everyone. The rain, it falls on everyone. No discrimination, no discrimination. You know, we talk about a lot these days the beauty, the happiness of having our home, you know, because we're afraid of the inclement weather. We're afraid of not having the protection. But actually, there's a kind of liberation, there's a kind of joy, there's a kind of freedom of being unbounded, untied. You're just in it. This is the way that it is. You don't know where you're going. You don't know how you're going to get there. And yet here you are. And the rain doesn't care what you think about it. That rain is such a freak. That rain is so obscene. That rain has crossed a line. It just keeps on raining. No differentiation. Now this is what we'd like. We'd like something like that. That's a villa up on the hill over there. That's about a perfect place. I don't think it's for sale, but ooh. Wow, this is a real rain. So me and Hung are leaving the lot, and we drove 1 hour to this kind of, it's like a temple village. So there's all these different temples here in this area. And we just found this nice cafe and we hung out here, and then the rain came. So we're about 2 hours from Hung's family's place, and we're waiting for the rain to process itself. And if we have to, I guess we'll drive in the rain too. Wait. Hey, honey, what to do? Try, you can try. This is a color by the dots. These are pretty popular in Vietnam. So it's a little package here with the Buddha. We have one of Guanyin Bodhisattva at our house, but Hung never finished it. You're not finished that, right?
Dạ. But because I finished up.
But this one, Buddha, because you don't like Guanyin, right? You don't believe Quan Te Âm. What believe? What believe?
I believe the very good and very kind.
Oh my God, oh my God.
People want me very kind.
You are Quan Te Âm. You are Quan Te Âm, okay? There's some divide with the Mahayana and the Theravada. So that's one of the big things. In Mahayana, you have all these bodhisattvas, right? You have Guanyin and the Earth Store Bodhisattva and Manjushri, and same in Tibetan Buddhism. They have even more of these entities, these beings, these archetypes. But in Theravada, you really don't have any of those. So Hung comes from a more Theravada background, so she doesn't play the game for the Bodhisattvas. Go straight. Just go straight. Just go straight.
I think 1 hour or 2 hours.
1 hour or 2 hours? Oh my God. All right, somebody send $500 to save me and Hung from the rain. Somebody send $500 to save us from the rain. so we can use, we'll figure it out. $500.
Very cool. This is West.
Yes. How about this? Does this sound better? Yeah, sounds better? Dongshan's Guidelines. Buddhist ascetics make the lofty their source. Having cut off clinging ties, you should go the way of simplicity and poverty. Cut off gratitude and love for your father and mother. Abandon the formalities of sovereign and subject. Shave your hair, dye your clothing, taking the cloth and carrying the bowl. Tread the shortest way out of the dusts and climb the stairway into sainthood. Pure as frost, clean as snow, dragons and spirits will honor you. Ghosts and sprites will submit to you. Concentrate single-mindedly. When you requite the profound debt of gratitude to the Buddhas, only then will the body born of your parents be saved. How could it be permissible to form a cult, gather followers and associates, take up pen and ink and dash off compositions, toil in pursuit of dust for love of fame and profit, neglect the rules of ethics, and destroy proper conduct?
grasping one lifetime of ease becomes myriad eons of pain. If you develop like this, you are calling yourselves Buddhists in vain. Going along with things and beings without hindrance. A wooden boat, empty inside, getting through freely by being empty. A peace of emptiness pervading everywhere, all senses silent. The moon in the water, the image in the mirror, fundamentally without origin or extinction. How could any traces remain? The absolute is not necessarily void. The relative is not necessarily actual. There is neither turning away nor turning to. When mental activity sinks away and both the material world and emptiness are forgotten, there is no more concealment. The whole thing is revealed. This is the relative within the absolute. Mountains are mountains. Rivers are rivers. No one establishes the names. Nothing can be compared. This is the absolute within the relative. Clean and naked, bare and free, the visage is in full majesty. Throughout all heaven and earth, the sole honored one, without any other. This is coming from the absolute. Just as the emperor in his realm does not rely upon the ordinances of wise kings and emperors of the past, the eye sees and the ear hears without using any other power. As the ear does not enter sound, and sound does not block up the ear, the moment you turn therein, there have never been any names fixed in the world. This is called arrival within both at once. This is not mind or objects, not phenomena or principle. It has always been beyond name or description. Naturally real, forgetting essence and appearance. This is called simultaneous realization of both relative and absolute. Being a buffalo, wearing hair and horns, not clinging to the business of asceticism or the states of reward of saints, not staying in the absolute, not choosing one's estate, not enjoying food. This food is the fundamental endowment. Knowing it exists, yet not grasping it, is called the fall of the precious. The body of reality, objective reality, are precious things. They too must be overturned. This is the fall of the precious. For example, the white ox on open ground is the ultimate symbol of the body of reality. This too must be overturned so as to avoid settling down in uniformity without discernment. That's a big topic, uniformity without discernment. Not cutting off sound and form. As a beginner, knowing there is one's own fundamental endowment, then turning back the light, shutting out all form, sound, smell, taste, feeling, and conception to attain tranquility. Then, after fully accomplishing this, not clinging to the 6 sense fields, falling into them without being befuddled, letting be, unhindered, ordinary feelings and religious experiences ended and forgotten. No more need to cut off anything in the fields of sense experience. Then you can take food. The fundamental endowment, also called one's own thing, as well as that woman and the original face, is often spoken of in Caodong Chan. That is what they want us to know exists to begin with. Nang Quan Pu Yan, one of the ancients with whom Dongshan once studied, said, "First, go over to the other side and realize it exists. Then come back to this side to practice." Yunmen asked Kaoshan, "Will you receive someone who does not change?" Kaoshan said, "I have no such leisure." So these, deep tracks, these tracks that are far too deep for you and me, we can get bits and pieces here and there. Actually, these are quite good at inviting and welcoming the mysterious principle or the mysterious truth. And if you can accept mysteriousness, if you can go deeper and deeper into mysteriousness, without attaching to forms, and without getting excited, and without giving into fear, but just keep going, that is how you'll experience cessation. The problem is when Buddhism is normalized. Buddhism is not normal. Your mind is not normal. There's nothing normal about it. Realization is not normal. As much as it's normal, it's you're off the mark by a million degrees. I've never been more insane than the point before I experienced cessation, as far as I know. And fuck that guy, whoever that old crinkly Soto Zen guy is, who says you need to be have a 10-minute cessation or something like that. He's privileged and he's arrogant and he's scum. Too many assumptions, too many appeals to importance. If you don't like what we sell here, go and jump off your judgment train. And if you want to get to it, Bree Jock, you call me on WhatsApp right now and I'll give it to you. I know that you're untrained. I know that you're uncultured. I know that you're unrealized. You're just some non-dual sycophant. You want to... You know what? Well, you know what really grinds my gears? You know what really grinds my gears? Using these words. It's you're colonizing, okay? What's awakening, huh? What's awakening? You know how bullshit of a word that is? How meaningless that word is? That's what. Call in on WhatsApp, call in on Zoom, call in on a Google meeting, call me on Instagram. I want you to call in right now and I want to find out what you're talking about when you say awakening. And I want to know if that's a word that you stole or that's a word that you earned. Oh, I'm going to show the surroundings all right once we reach our goal. I'm sick of these colonizing Redditors and colonizing fake spiritual people, taking these terms and taking these words and throwing them around, okay? Awakening is totally vague. It has no real truth to you're awakened or not. Yeah, why don't you go and watch some random non-duality teachers help you convince yourself that you understand something. I get it, man. Pass that doobie.
Okay? Remember, everybody, we're not playing ego games here. You're at my house. You're going to be respectful. You're going to be kind. You're going to follow instructions, or you're going to be forced to leave, okay? And so, Bree, I don't know if you're still here or whoever you are, this anonymous fake participant in what we're doing here. Are you still here, Bree? The problem is when spiritual values and spiritual understanding is entirely based on our own ego. So there's nothing to discuss, right? It's just an ego game of you being right. So awakening is what you think awakening is. And the moment that that's challenged, you're now, telling somebody why their ego has a problem. The word doesn't actually have value to you. Having this discussion doesn't have value to you. All the people watching don't have value to you because it's a performative, parasocial, colonizing form of spirituality, if you even want to call it that, that's just based on a coping mechanism for the spiritual ego or for the Western psychological position. That's not what this is about. Your position on what awakening is not important here because we're taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We're taking refuge in 2,600 years of spiritual tradition and history. So when you bring your middle class, white, spiritual, podcast listening self here and you say, I'm the most important person in the room, no, you're not. Okay? And if you don't want to be challenged, you don't want to have anything to do with awakening. And people freely use that word awakening because they're selling something. Nobody's going to play teacher here, especially nobody who's brave enough or open enough or generous enough to just call in and have a conversation, And then the moment that I ask the question, what is your spiritual practice and training, you have to remind me that it's all about your ego, right? Spirituality is just what you think it is, and anything else besides that is irrelevant. So it's very, very convenient. Make a new username, and then I'll answer your question. You come here with a mask on, you come here pretending to play a little parasocial game. You're going to get blocked, you're going to get shut down, you're going to get banned. How am I blocking critique when I'm saying join the Zoom meeting, join the Google Meet meeting, call me on my phone right now? How exactly am I blocking critique? It doesn't make any sense. No, challenging the teacher should not be normalized. I mean, you just start in the most basic way. You're visiting a Buddhist temple. You're attending a meditation retreat. You're attending a lecture by a professor. You're joining a group of people to listen to someone that's way, way, way more experienced than you in something that you're interested in. And somehow, instead of you focusing on listening and learning, you want to challenge them based on your vapid lack of knowledge and experience. Yeah, Christopher, just keep ignoring what I say. You can't stop thinking long enough to listen. And so you're not responding to me. You're not having a conversation with me. You're having a conversation with your own stream of thoughts and your unconscious emotions bubbling up. I've said so many things here that have nothing to do with I'm the teacher, I'm in a position to teach, and yet somehow you can't follow through with the invitation. You can't respond to any points that I've brought up. The only thing that you can do is posture your ego. I'm inherently important here. My ego is inherently important here. You're a guest here. You're not the host here.
Whereas I would never watch you live stream or talk about the Dharma, you're continuously choosing to be here, to listen to me, and to ignore me. And that's not a correct way to act when you're a guest. What do you think, honey? And thank you for subscribing. We are still trying to meet our super chat goal, everybody, and if we meet that super chat goal, we're going to have a dance party. Yeah, raining dance party. Yeah. You worry about drive nighttime? The idea that you own the planet is ridiculous. A student is meant to do nothing and listen and go to work. That's very nice, Andy. And I agree. So you want to try to go now? Put on a rain jacket and drive? Okay, let's do it. No, start to finish. Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing, Niels, is there's no value for fairness, there's no value for mutual generosity, there's no value for like just being open-minded. You know, it's people who don't want to have their egos challenged, but want to be Dharma kings, spiritual authorities. And I'm welcoming, I'm inviting people to challenge my ego by calling in, by getting more involved, by, giving it to me. But the fundamental point here as well is that this isn't about anybody's ego. And that's why you get these people that make new accounts and, act like they're basically demons. And it's my job to welcome the demons and to conquer them. Let's do it. I'll get the rain jacket.
But even if he's going so
No, I can see. I'm pretty sure I can see, yeah.
just go slow enough. It's okay?
Yes. I think rain stopped in just 10 minutes. Yeah, 10-minute rain stop. It's people who want to make this into a game of some sort. We're talking about the deepest possible topic that human beings can discuss, right? I was a Buddhist monk for 8 years. This is my channel where I live stream and share and invite people, right, to be a part of this work that we're doing here, right? I've trained with meditation masters all over the world. I've lived and trained at monasteries for years. So this idea that we're going to come in here and put on a mask and kind of parasocially engage and say, actually, it's all your ego, we're not doing that here. You want to engage, call me right now on WhatsApp. Join the Zoom meeting that I've set up. The only barrier to entry is your ego and you wanting to hide behind a mask. So you want to keep doing that, that's fine, but this is never going to be about that. This is never going to become about random people's ego positions about the Buddha Dharma or me personally. This is never going to be about that. So, you can make new accounts or you can make little comments or you can do whatever you want to do. But until you're actually ready to show up, you're not going to have a seat at the table. Dongshan asked, "The great incorrigible kills his father and mother, sheds Buddha's blood, and disrupts the harmonious community. In these various deeds, where is filial care?" Yunju said, "Only these are real filial care." From this point on, Dongshan approved of Yunju and made him the leader in the room, that is, the inner circle. It's people who have a superiority complex about spirituality when they've had basically zero training. And, me telling them that we're not going to be hiring a carpenter that's not willing to share their experience is not going to fly, makes their head explodes. And it shouldn't. Yeah. You don't want to practice generosity here? Then show yourself the door.
It's very good.
Yes, very good. People like these non-duality teachers, they're just sharing this shallow idea of, I'm aware, I get it, I'm aware. And they're saying the same thing over and over again. And we're all supposed to sit by and say how profound that is. Well, do you know why people think it's so profound? Because they haven't had any training. They haven't worked with any real teachers. And I've seen an interview with one of these non-duality teacher people where, they're asked about like their in-depth seeking and stuff, and they just give these vague answers, where it doesn't even, they don't even seem to know on a practical level, right? Because these non-duality teachers, sometimes they speak on a practical level, sometimes they, speak on the absolute level, right? They don't even seem to know on a practical level that what they're attempting to do is give Pyth instructions, right? And that those kind of instructions that they're giving or direct pointing are very, very vapid and shallow and superfluous in the face of Dzogchen masters, Chan masters, that's been going on for hundreds of years. %, Shelley, 100%. So these people are just being misled and misguided, and that's their karma. But those teachers are probably going to go to hell, or they are going to go to hell. I'm going to send them there if I'm allowed to get my hands on them. They're slippery. And everybody gets slippery when you start cutting their skin, because it's just blood bags after all. Oh my gosh, the level of like Alexis non-duality is so low. It's remarkably low. No, we finish. We get ready to go. you know. The only people that want to convert stupid people is stupid people. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Be happy, be well, be peaceful, be safe. We did not reach our super chat goal today, so there's no dance party in the rain. The rain's already stopped, but we'll dance a little bit anyway.
Keep us in moment. Keep us in moment. Zen meditation means return to this moment. It means realizing this infinite now. It's not seeing lights and stars, beatific visions. Waking up merely means returning to this moment, perceiving, realizing this moment, infinite in time and space. We have our ears, our eyes, our nose, our thinking comes and goes, comes and goes, comes and goes. But our ears, our eyes, our nose can keep us in moment. We have this rhythm, this tone, this flow, where thinking comes and goes, comes and goes, comes and goes. But the words and the rhythm and the tone can keep us in moment. Keep us in moment. So much is through the eyes that we spend all day there. Have to.
I got your Discord link right here.
The line between awake and asleep is not clear. Because you were thinking, that stuff didn't register in your consciousness. Your eyes were processing light, processing image, processing distance. But when you are thinking, you lose your eyes. We have our ears, our eyes, our nose, our thinking comes and goes, comes and goes, comes and goes. But our ears, our eyes, our nose